Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny Show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Katie Oman. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Rae, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer, passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Katie Oman, about the power of moment, what these pivotal shifts are, why they shouldn't be feared, and how to listen to the whispers of your soul to step into your true purpose. Now, Katie is a women's empowerment coach, motivational speaker, and event organizer. She has written 9 books to date, including Happiness, Make Your Soul Smile, published by O Books in 2018. She also works as a book coach, helping others to write and publish their own books. Now, to date, she has helped 17 authors publish their books, including 2 Amazon bestsellers and an award winning children's book. Now, with testimonials such as Katie is phenomenal. I was very skeptical on meeting a psychic because it kind of creeped me out that they just knew just based off your energy. Well, I grew a pair and let the universe guide me, giving me hints every day, telling me to go to Katie. I finally emailed Katie and set up a healing session and every reading she had to offer. And even though we're in different time zones for my healing session, now that session was very intense, emotional, and eye opening for me and changed me in ways that I am so grateful for. And she has helped me rejuvenate and ready to reveal my true, authentic self to the world since my true self has been caged for years. And ever since I've been happier, healthier, free, vocal, and more aware of my feelings, thoughts, who I surround myself with, and most importantly, energies that come into my presence. I have and am still coming to her when things get rough in the life and ask for guidance. I recommend Katie because she gives you answers that are guidance for you to begin your beautiful in your life. She is definitely worth it, and you're worth it knowing what changes you can make in your life and be the best possible version of yourself. So, without further delay, hello, Katie, and welcome to the Angels of Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm really good, Rae. Thank you so much for having me on. What a lovely introduction. I feel all glowy now.
Oh, excellent. We like glowy. We think that's absolutely perfect. So, before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments, and thoughts, as both Katie and I want to be part of this conversation. So, please don't be shy. And of course, Amanda B has already said, thank you for your dedication to healing abundance. Blessings, bless you both. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for joining us and being brave enough to say hello. So, Katie, why don't you tell us more about your journey and what a tower moment is and why it shouldn't be feared, as well as looking at how we can listen to the whispers of our soul?
Yeah, it's a really big subject, right? I know when I first approached you, I was debating what to talk about, and it's somebody who has done tarot work for the last 15 years now, my goodness. And I know when I first learnt the tarot, and there are certain cards that come out that people have an emotional reaction to more than others. And Hollywood have really capitalized on this, of course, with certain cards. But as a reader, it makes you kind of eye roll. But one of the ones that people have a really strong reaction to is the tower, because the picture of it looks quite scary, right? It's the tower
Yes.
that's struck by lightning and people are falling out the window, and it's very dramatic. And I tell people now, actually, it's a good thing, right? Because a tower card and a tower moment essentially is the structures of your life that you have built. So if that's job, relationship, health, where you live, your friends, like all of these different structures that we build. And a tower moment is where you suddenly realize that structure is built on sand, not on hard concrete floor. It was always going to come down at some point. But when it does finally happen, it feels quite sudden and out the blue. And it can be really scary and really overwhelming while you're in it. And we try and kind of like cling onto the walls and trying to push it back together. And yet it's coming down for your highest and greatest good. And the whole point of it is to not rebuild the same tower, but to see, okay, why has this come down? And what can I build in its place now that's better aligned with who I am now? And so actually, like I say, I think it's a good thing, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. But for me personally, it was really catalyzed through a very profound moment that I went through in 2010. So before that, in my 20s, I'm 43 now at the time of recording this. So in my 20s, on the outside, I kind of looked like I knew what I was doing. As I think, I always used to believe everyone knew what they were doing. I know now that's not true. But I certainly gave the impression that I had a plan, right? So my eldest son, he was born when I was just before my 21st birthday. And because I was in an abusive relationship with his father, I moved back home with my parents and I decided to go to university. And as a mature student, and I got my English and drama degree, and then I went and did a teaching degree, and I became a high school teacher. And so again, I've got stuff figured out, right? I know what I'm doing. And yet on the inside, I was just a hot mess. Like I knew, I think deep down, that there was more to life than the life that I was living, but I couldn't figure out what that was. And I kept trying to find things to put into that kind of empty space inside. So relationships, going out with my friends, shopping, like I was trying to fill this hole within me, but nothing was working. And I felt like I was kind of drifting through life with no compass, no sail, no map. I was just like this little boat that was just bobbing along on the ocean, but not really knowing where I was going. And felt quite unhappy, really, but again, didn't really know what to do about it. And certainly wasn't going to kind of recognize and admit that maybe I'd made some wrong choices and I was just kind of going with it, which, I think we've all been in that situation from time to time. And then in 2010, the most awful, devastating, tragic thing happened. My grandparents lived in a sheltered accommodation. They were obviously both elderly. They both had health conditions. My granddad suffered from what was called emphysema at the time. That's now called CPD, I think. And, they're getting on, but they were still trying to do what they could do. And one night in February, my mum and I got a very loud, persistent knock on the front door at like 2:00 in the morning. My first thought was that it was a burglar. And I know that sounds really stupid, because why would the burglar be knocking on your front door? But, when you're kind of half asleep, your brain just goes to weird places. Anyway, turns out it was the police. So I go and open the door and wake my mum up. And the police officer tells us that there's been a fire. And that they've managed to get them out and they're both in hospital. To say that we were shocked would be understatement of the millennia. Like, it was so just out of the blue. And it was so, like, so many questions, like how, why, what. It was all so chaotic. Went to see them in hospital the next day, and sadly, tragically, they both died that day. My granddad went first because, like I say, he had really bad with his lungs and his respiratory system. And then my nan died later the same day as I held her hand, which was just awful, as you can imagine. Felt her soul leave her body and I felt her go. What came to light from that was that there had been a young lad, I would say probably mid-teens, late teens, who had learning difficulties in the area. And he had been targeted by some boys of around the same age who saw him, that they could get him to do things that they thought was a bit of a laugh. And they dared him to go and set my granddad's mobility scooter on fire, which he did. And it was all handled really, really badly from the doctors and the police. It wasn't handled well as a case at all. But that's the point. We had then, not only did we have the grief and the shock and the tragedy, but we also had a police investigation, and we had the media literally camped at the bottom of the street, trying to interview us, trying to take photographs of us. They even came to the funeral, trying to take pictures of us. We had and not just local newspapers, even the Daily Mail were there. It was awful. And see, when you go through trauma and tragedy like that, it's kind of hard sometimes to really, I mean, we talk about it occasionally with people, but you can't really put into words the impacts of that. Like, it literally, I mean, talk about a tower moment. It literally felt like somebody had pulled the floor out from underneath me. Everything that I thought I knew, everything I thought that was solid in my life was suddenly either had come crashing down or was very questioned, because it really is that moment of, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Because everything stops. Like, for a good month, 6 weeks, like, life just stopped, and it all became about this. And it really made me just realize how really unhappy I was, not just with the situation, but just with everything, really. And anyway, the lad in question, he got convicted of manslaughter, and he got sent into a secure unit for 2 years. Which, is justice? I don't know. It's a lot of questions there, but it is what it is. At the same time of all this was happening, weirdly, or synchronistically, I think, my mum had a friend who was a psychic medium. Now, at this point, it's like a teenager, you kind of dabble in spirituality and paranormal a little bit, right? And they've been a spiritual shop in my town, and like, I've been interested in like a little bit of witchcraft, and like, even now my favorite film is The Craft. Love that film. And so a little bit dabbling, but nothing terribly seriously. And the first words when she met me, God love her, wasn't like, hi, or nice to meet you. She looked at me and she went, you can do what I can do, Excuse me? Like, pardon? What? And but she was great, Barbara, and she really took me on a journey of understanding who I am and understanding my natural abilities, and just really help me develop psychically. She guided me at first to be a medium. It came to pass that I am a highly sensitive empath. I don't even watch horror films, so because I'm frightened of things like that, I was creating experiences around me that were echoing that back to me. So I had quite a lot of spooky, scary experiences that terrified the life out of me. And so shut that down and concentrated on the tarot and angels, because that felt safe. That felt love and light, and it was beautiful. So essentially, the point of it all is, and for me, the tower moment cracked me open. There's a Japanese pottery where they literally put gold in cracks of pottery, because they say when you crack, that's how you let the light in, right? So for me, the tragedy, the tower moment, was my spiritual awakening. Really, that was the thing, because that led me to where I am now. Now, does that mean, because I thought about this a lot over the last 15 years, does that mean then that I'm grateful that it happened, or I'm thankful that it happened? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do I wish my grandparents were still alive? Of course I do. And I don't sit here and go, I'm so happy I had my tower moment. What I recognize is that moment was not in my control. Oh, what I can do is I can sit here and be a victim to it for the rest of my life, and let it spiral and become a real, have the most negative impact on me. And people, you see that all the time. People just can't let stuff go. Or I can go, do you know what? I'm going to almost utilize it the best way I can and live my life the best way I can from that wound, from that place, so that it doesn't define me. It almost, in a way, becomes the new making of me. I build upon it. I build a new structure upon it rather than letting it bury me. And that's why I say tower moments are awful when they happen. And like, it can be anything like death, divorce, chronic illnesses, like losing your house. Oh, God, it's awful, awful thing. People go through the worst times. It's just awful. I mean, working as a coach, I hear some terrible stories. But like I say, do you choose to define what you do with it? Do you say this is happening to me, and I am a victim of circumstance? Or do you say, this is happening for me, so what positive thing can I do about it? And that's really the choice that we all have. So is it easy? No. Is it fun? Absolutely not. But we still have a choice always about what we do with each breath that we take. And I think that's kind of really my mantra now is I live my life the best way that I possibly can each and every day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that is the only, sort of like the only thing you can do is live your life. And yes, I've had my tower moment, wasn't as didn't result in any deaths, etc. But it was literally that what everything I thought I knew is completely
Yeah.
gone. But again, it's what you do, it's what you do with that.
Yeah.
You stay in that victim, or do you go, actually, this has happened. There's obviously a reason why it happened. I might not understand it, but I'm going to see where that's now going to take me. What is that actually going to bring into my life now that that's gone? What is going to be brought into me now? Which I think is quite important. And we've got Andy who says, "Good evening, ladies." And Andy says, "There's always a positive out of a negative. You've just got to find it."
Yes. I mean, I always say that even like in the darkest cloud, there is a silver lining. Even if it's like half a millimeter, it's still there. We just have to look for it. We have to be open to the possibility that it doesn't matter how dark things can get, there is always a light. And if you can find the light, that's the thing that can pull you through. But you just have to be open to the fact that, because I mean, regardless of what we're stripped is away from us, we're still there, right?
Mm.
We are still present with our lights and our life. And I think while we're still living and our heart's still beating, we still have a choice about starting afresh and trying to cling on to something that can pull us through it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It is starting afresh. It is starting new. You look all the way back through history. Through millennia or whatever. There's things that have ended. There's always been a beginning that's come
Yeah,
afterwards, or something new that's come afterwards, because that's the way the world develops. That's the way we develop and grow through our life.
absolutely. And that's, of course, another tarot card is the Death card, which is another card that people go, oh my gosh. And I'm like, that's not what it means. It literally is endings and beginnings, right? When God closes the door, he opens the window, right? So it's being aware of that and not just focusing on the thing that's ending, so that you miss the beginning, you miss the opportunity because you're so focused on what you've lost. And it's not to say that you can't grieve. It's not
No,
to say that you can't be sad, but it's not to stay in the pit forever, because you can. That's your choice. If you don't choose to pull yourself out of it and wait for somebody else to do it, you could be waiting a hell of a long time. You have to be your own kind of, I'm going to do what I can do, whatever that takes to get myself out of this.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I kind of like, when it's happened to me, I had my pity party, all the emotions, everything, but it was like, okay, I've allowed myself enough time for this, and now
Yeah.
it's time to move on. And when anything like that happens, it always reminds me of the Auschwitz survivor,
Mm.
one of the sisters who in the Nuremberg hearings actually went up to the guy and went, "I forgive you."
I mean, how incredibly powerful is that? You can't, I mean, talk about an inner strength and an inner grace. I mean, to even be open to that possibility is like speaks volumes about her, and puts her power is like 10 times anything that was thrown her way. The fact that she could offer that is wow.
Yeah, she took her power back because she didn't let it eat her, which I think, is so amazing. And we got some comments here. So Andy says, there was a negative to make me who I am today and what I do today. Exactly. And Amanda says, we're all a reflection of both dark and light shadows. Yeah, totally we are.
That's an
And we
interesting point, actually. Sorry, Ray.
no, that's fine.
When I kind of came, was starting to heal and come out the other side of it, because I mean, I'm a Libra for my sins, and so Libra, I believe, our path is trying to find the middle. Is trying to find the moderate path because we're the scales, right? But we also go really down hard on one side or the other, right? So because I've been in such darkness, I was like, right, I am choosing happiness. I am choosing joy. But I went completely the opposite way, to the point that I went dangerously close to toxic positivity, which is basically where it's okay. I'm very aware that I'm in a spiritual podcast, but I do believe there's such a thing, and I talk about it quite a lot, as spiritual bypassing. And that is to say that, oh, everything happens for a reason. Oh, love and light. Oh, just, and it's all of this, just put a smiley band-aid over the problem. And it doesn't allow us to be in our shadow. It doesn't allow us to be in our pain, because we're supposed to just like sunshine and rainbows and angels. And it's like, actually, our shadow is what makes us human. And if we don't allow people to be in their pain, we actually can cause more problems. So
Yeah.
what I recognize, like I say now, is it's okay to not be okay. The danger is when you unpack your stuff and live in that space. So, it is trying to find that balance, but hey, that's what makes us messy, complicated humans that we are.
Exactly, and that's what makes being a human actually fun,
Yeah.
and that we can, explore and experiment different emotions, different feelings, different ways of living. Otherwise, it would be really quite boring, if we were one way
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah, exactly. We all want to live in some kind of like nirvana with like, rainbows and unicorns. But you do wonder, like, after like a year, would that get a little bit boring?
Yeah. Exactly, unless they're making unicorn ice cream, but that's a whole different.
Hey, I'm
If,
here for it.
if you ever saw that advert, yeah, that's a whole different thing. So what else have we got here? Andy says, do you think the problem is people are scared of starting fresh, scared of changes in their life?
100%. I talk about this a lot in my coaching because, interestingly enough, I'm now doing a psychology degree as well, because why not, right? That's me. I'm always like, why not? Let's try something new. But I believe from my experience that we all have an ego, right? And the ego is part of our brain. And we're very aware of this. And I get cross, and well, I used to get cross. Now I just laugh when I see people going, I'm going to go to war with the ego. I'm going to defeat the ego. I'm like, well, unless you have a lobotomy, it's not going to work, because it's literally part of your brain. So the ego serves two functions, right? One is your identity, the I am. So I am a woman. I am Katie. I am a mom. Like, that's my identity. The other part of it is survival. Right now, we see it as fear, but ultimately it is trying to keep you alive. Right now, the issue with that is that our ancestors were like newborn babies in the world, and everything that we encountered, we had to be hyper vigilant, hyper aware, because we didn't understand the world. So that berry on that bush, can I eat that or will I die? That big cat with the pointy teeth, can I cuddle it or is it going to eat me? Like, we had to be like super aware of everything all of the time. The issue is the world has changed, but our brains haven't really changed that much. So we still have this like really hypersensitive ego that is really just trying to keep you alive constantly, and sees everything as a danger. Now, what all that means is that while you're in the comfort zone of your life, while you're in this bubble of like, it's knowable, right? So on Monday, I do this, on Tuesday, I do this. Your ego is quite quiet. It's quite happy because it's knowable. And all fear is feeling out of control and feeling and things being unknowable, right? So when things are kind of knowable, your ego is happy and quite quiet. Even if you are miserable as hell, doesn't care. It's knowable, you're safe, it's fine. Doesn't care how you feel, right? So what happens is that we then try and change our lives, even a little bit. We take one toe out of the comfort zone and your ego freaks out because this is unknowable and it's dangerous and you could die. So it does and says anything to put you back in the comfort zone where you're safe. And literally, it will try and convince you, it will do worst case scenarios. It will tell you that you can't. It will tell you that you're stupid. It will tell you that everyone hates you and everyone will reject you. All of this is just to keep you safe. And it doesn't look that way, right? But that is its purpose. And I used to talk about spiraling down. I would listen to that voice and I would believe everything it said. It was like my inner bully all the time. Now I see it for what it is. I now see it as kind of like a tantruming child in the corner. I don't want to. It's scary. Stop. Right. So I turn around and I have a chat with it. What's the matter? What's wrong? Oh, well, what happens if we fail? And I don't see failure as a bad thing. I see it as part of learning. Well, what happens if we have no money? Well, we're not going to have no money, are we? Because we've got money and we're fine. Well, what happens if we lose our house? Well, we're not going to lose our house. But if we do, we have options, don't we? We have people who love us and support us, don't we? Yeah, well, we're okay then. We're safe, aren't we? Okay. It's almost like if you keep ignoring it, if you keep resisting the fear and the ego, it just gets louder. What you resist persists. It becomes the monster under the bed. You have to turn around and go, what do you want? And have an adult conversation with it and alleviate those fears. It's the only way to essentially battle the ego. And that's
Yeah.
why we don't like change. That's why any new beginning is terrifying for us, because we don't really know what we're doing and we don't really know what we're going into.
No, no. A brilliant way of explaining that.
Thank you.
Very, very good way of explaining. I love that. Yes, we're going to have a conversation now. We go sit down.
It's Elizabeth Gilbert in her book, The Big Magic, which is a wonderful book. If you haven't read it, it's great. I highly recommend it, especially if you're creative. And she writes a letter to her ego, going like, I understand your purpose, I understand why you're here, but you can't you can't drive the car. You can't even turn on the radio. Like sit on the back seat and look out the window. Like, I've got this, right? You can't kick the ego out the car. So you realize it's part of the journey, but that doesn't mean it has to drive the car.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I'm going to. I've not read that book, but I will go and have a look at it. And April says the rebuilding isn't easy for sure. Finding others who have a similar understanding like yourselves help a guiding light. Yeah, if you can look for help and guidance, that's one of the things that got me through because of my background. I was lucky I had that support network of other people that could support me on that journey and help and help me through it.
Yeah,
So I was very lucky, but there is always going to be somebody there for you. You just have to go and find them to help you with that support. And it could be the angels, it could be spirit.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in an ideal situation, you would have friends and family that would have your back. But we understand in the world that we live in that that doesn't always happen.
Mm.
And that's why I'm such a huge advocate for women's stories, especially, no offense to the men at all. But I've seen the power of women's stories. I've seen what they do. Women's stories really matter because a lot of history, they haven't been acknowledged or listened to at all. If you, every time you see a story or a poem that says anonymous at the bottom, that's a woman. Every time you've seen somebody with initials as their name, that's normally a woman, because they couldn't write as a woman themselves, because they wouldn't have been published. They wouldn't have been listened to. But I recognize now that, I mean, one of my big mantras is that when we own our stories fully, we release the shame that was never ours to carry. And for me, I think of the things that I've been through in my life, and how I sometimes felt really alone while they were happening. And, even if I'd had books or stories, but able to listen to women's stories about similar things that I was going through, it would have helped so much. And that's why I'm such an advocate for women to share, because I think not only does it help the teller of the story to heal and to accept and to process, it also helps to the reader, right? Because it helps them to feel like they're not alone. So it's a mutually beneficial thing. And I think, because in an ideal world, if you can have someone in person, great, wonderful. Make sure that your circle is people who lift you up and got your back. Anybody that's bringing you down really should be out the circle, in my opinion. I know that's not easy, but hey, at least limit our time with them, right? But if you haven't got that, then to reach for other stories that are similar, that are a light, that are inspiration. And like you say, your spiritual team, your squad is always there. It's just remembering that in the moment, because Lord knows there have been times when I've been literally on my knees sobbing and then gone, have I asked Spirit for help with this? Oh, no, I forgot.
Yeah, we're human. We're allowed to forget.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's kind of exploring every avenue, I think, and not just to kind of, because that the separation of, the illusion of separation, it really is an illusion, and it is like I'm on my own, and you can believe that. You can. That's another one of those ego tricks, right? That you are completely separate. Nobody cares about you. You got to figure it all by yourself. It's a lie. We just have to look for people to lift us up.
Yeah. And the beauty, in today's age as well, is that practically every single person can get online.
Mm.
So there are, there are free Audible books,
Yeah.
there are free YouTube videos. There's so much out there with those stories on there that you can listen to and you can heal from, and even, do guided meditations
Yeah.
too. So we are so lucky in the time we're living in now compared to our ancestors who, didn't have, all of that information that they could tap into if they were isolated. I mean, obviously, a lot of our ancestors lived in communities that had all that, but if they were that isolated now, they would be able to connect so
Yeah.
easily with all these different stories.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that the internet and social media is not always the nicest place to be. I'm very aware of that. And, it certainly can be problematic, but I think that it's also seeing the benefit of it and understanding that in moments like that, when you are going through a tower moment, it really can help. It's amazing. Like I was saying at the start before we went live, my best friend lives in Florida. We've been best friends for 10 years and we've never met in person yet, but we talk to each other every day. We've been through so much stuff together: life, love, death, joy, and it's a magical thing. And without the internet, without social media, we would never have found each other.
Oh, exactly, and I, if it hadn't been for this, for the internet, I wouldn't have this show, which is
Yeah,
bringing your stories out there to be, to help other people that
yeah,
might be going through those issues or need people to help with, and Amanda, thank you, Amanda. I love your online community. Thank you. And I'm an isolated person. Yeah, community is so important. And I
yeah.
think that's one of the things modern society in the last 100 years or so we've kind of like lost.
Mm.
But I think that's coming back now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to recognize that maybe it's changed your understanding of what that means, right? Because you may not necessarily have a community in person around you, but we always can create an online community. And like I say, I have clients in Sydney, Canada, America, Ireland, all over the place, and it's wonderful. And it's people who, doesn't matter what you're going through, there's always somebody. And because of time differences, there literally always is somebody there that you can just go, can I have a chat? Because I'm feeling pretty low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I've got that. Oh, thank you again, Andy. I like this community. Thank you so much. So, how did you get into writing and then publishing
Oh,
and
but no,
helping
that's a journey
others?
in and of itself. My goodness. So I am an only child and divorced parents. And books were really my sanctuary. My favorite book as a child was Matilda by Roald Dahl, and I really saw myself in her. I can't move things with my eyes, but still, I was real bookworm, and loved English at school and loved writing stories. But I had chronic low self-esteem, like really bad. I just didn't like myself at all. And although I had the dream of writing, I didn't believe that I was good enough. That was kind of, again, that ego voice, right? Oh, you couldn't write a book. Don't be silly. And I listened to it, so I wouldn't let myself try. But that, I really believe that when you have a dream, it never really goes away. It kind of sits waiting, right? And the whispers of it will come up every now and then. And then in 2012, I gave birth to my twins. And that was the story in and of itself, because it wasn't an easy pregnancy and birth by any means. But anyway, for the first 4 years of their life, I was a stay-at-home mom, because trying to pay for childcare for twins, not cheap. So I would look after them. And it sounds so silly to say this out loud now, but I thought, if I'm ever going to write a book, this is the time to do it. Not because I wasn't busy. I had 3 children, right? And my hands were full, but it was the only thing in my day that was mine, because my whole day was taken up by looking after other people. And so I got greedy with the scraps of free time that I had. So I was making a coffee, or the twins would go down for a nap, and I would use some of that time. I didn't have a computer then, so I had a notebook and a pen, and this story in me started to come out. And I believe a lot of it was channeled, because it's a novel about a woman going through a spiritual awakening, right? And working with the angels. And this story starts to really develop. And once it was written, I went to the library and typed it all up. And then, of course, a lot of writers have this with their first book. You hope that you're going to send it off to a publisher, and then you'll be a world famous author, and all of your problems will be fixed, right? Doesn't really happen, sadly, right? So I did send it off to a couple of publishers, didn't get anything back. And my moon's in Taurus, so I can be a little bit stubborn. Like, Libra, scales, right, that's my decision, and I'm sticking to it. So I thought, I've got to get this book out. So I self-published it through Amazon. And it was just, to be able to hold a book in your hands that you've written is unlike anything else. I think it's so powerful. It's so empowering. And I was like, once I'd done one, I had to do another one. And then I had to do another one, right? So it became like, I have to. It was really my creative outlet. And I have always written the book that's been tangible to where I've been at that moment in my life, the book that I've needed to read. So to date, yes, I've written 9 books, which is a huge achievement, which I'm very proud of course. And if the younger version, thank you, the younger version of me could see me now, she would, her mouth be on the floor. But I've kept my timing. I still can't believe it's 2025. I'm still going, hang on, no, last year, no, the year before. 3 years ago, my best friend said to me, okay, I've got this idea for a book, but honestly, I haven't got the time. And so, because you've written books and whatnot, can you, if I give you my notes, can you type it for me? And then can you put it on Amazon for me? And she paid me, bless her. And so I was like, yeah. So I did it, and actually realized that I was pretty good at it. Actually, along the way of doing all this stuff, I picked up a lot of skills, and I quite enjoyed it. And then this idea of the book coaching came out from that. And so I call it Write Your Magic, because that's what I believe it is. You are literally writing magic. I mean, the word abracadabra literally means I speak as I create.
Yeah.
And one of my clients called me the book doula. So I help you to have the pregnancy and the birth of your book. It is your baby, right? And actually, since I sent you that bio, Rae, it's actually now 21 books that have now been published.
Wow, well done.
Thank you very much. It's incredible. And there are still more in development, and it's awesome. Every client is different. Every book is different. And I absolutely love it. It's a lot of hard work sometimes, but it's wonderful. And to see somebody's joy of when they have their own book that I've helped create is just like, it's amazing. It's wonderful. Worth all the hard work.
Oh, brilliant. How amazing. And are they all similar books, or are they
Oh,
completely different topics from
oh,
everywhere?
it's I really, because of my whole spiritual background, I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to get all spiritual books, right? And there are some, sure, but like I say, there was a book on intermittent fasting. There's been a children's book. There's been a book on boundaries. There's two novels in there. Like, it's amazing. I think if you because you realize that everybody has different interests, of course, and so even if you are spiritual, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to write a spiritual book right now. So it's cool, and just being open to people telling you their stories. And there's memoirs. I've had most of them are women, fair. I have had one guy that I'm working with in Canada, and his stories about coming out of the army and dealing with addiction and starting to heal himself. So that's incredible.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just open. It's I feel very privileged and honored to be able to do what I do.
Yeah. And that kind of book, is going to be needed for something that men can read, which will
Mhm.
help with their mental health, with their spiritual growth,
Yeah,
um, as well, which I think is amazing. And Amanda says, "Bless you, congratulations."
thank you.
And Andy says, "I would love to write a book, but wouldn't know where to start."
That's what everyone always says to me right at the beginning. And I say, don't worry, sweetheart. We'll have a chat. I've got you. We make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one day I will write a book, but I'm just so busy doing so much other stuff at the time. It's like, yeah, I know when the time's right, the book will.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said to you at the start, everything happens as and when it's supposed to, right?
Yeah, exactly. It always, always, always does. So, as you know, I do guided meditations and I do angel oracle cards. And each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to pull an angel oracle card, do a guided meditation, or is there something they would like to offer?
Do you
So,
know,
Katie, what would you like?
Ray, I would really like an oracle card, please.
In that case, I will do an oracle card for you and everyone watching.
Fabulous.
And Amanda says, I believe I have a book of you in me. You probably do with your story. As you're saying, you're looking for community in that. There's probably a very good oh, well done, Andy. The closest I got to one is the Beano at the moment.
Hey, don't knock the Beano. I used to read it when I was a kid.
Good Lord. So what does Katie and everyone who's watching this need to know for their highest good? And of course, when I do the cards, I do the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with the past is to learn and heal from so that it doesn't affect you in the current. And although I also work with the future as well, it's so you can learn, understand, and know the steps to take so that it doesn't affect you in the current. So, what does Katie and everyone who's watching this need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? Oh, and they're making me work. No, they're not. You want that one? Wonderful. So, the card is answering the call. The time is now.
Ooh, good card.
I mean, how perfect again for what we've been talking about anyway. Confirmation about what you're doing, and that now is the time to answer the call. It is time to step up, and share your gifts and talents with the world, because the doors are there open for you to come through.
100%. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I know. It's you just really can't. You just really can't, make that. So everyone watching, what is that call you've got inside you that that you can come out and create beautiful magic with as you go through that doorway. Be curious about it. I love curiosity. That's curiosity and magic are my two of my favorite words.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My word of the year for this year is limitless, because I'm not putting any limits on
Nice.
myself. I'm just letting myself grow and expand where I need to go.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Um, so, and Amanda says, powerful. Um, yeah, it was definitely a powerful. So, Katie, do you have any insights or thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
My lovely uncle. I'm originally from Liverpool, as you can probably tell from the accent.
I would never have guessed.
The odd scouse kind of slips in. I love it though. I used to kind of hide it when I was little because people make jokes, right? It's one of those things. I mean, I remember the Harry Enfield show from the 80s and 90s with the Scousers.
Oh
I'm
God,
used to it.
yeah.
The tracksuits and the moustaches. So yeah, I've heard them all. And so I was kind of a little bit embarrassed, I suppose, of my background when I was younger, but now I think it's wonderful and I embrace it fully. But my dear uncle, who's no longer with us, he had the driest sense of humour. He was so funny, as a lot of Scousers are. And he would say to me, and he'd go, "Hey kids, don't worry, love, because when you're dead, you're dead. But to tell you what, don't die until you're dead." Which I think is wonderful because it actually fits in with the cards. I know that sounds a bit of a leap, but actually think about it.
No, it does.
Your life is yours, and if the last 5 years have shown us is that we never really know when our number is up. We never really know when it's our time to pass on to the next life. So, what are you waiting for exactly? Are you waiting for permission? Are you waiting for validation? Are you waiting for perfection? Like the amount of times I've heard that one. I'll do it when. I'll do it when the kids leave home. I'll do it when I'm retired. I'll do it. I'm like, it's just an excuse. Because when that happens, you'll find another reason not to do it. Your life is happening now, today, right here, right now. And all we ever have is this present moment. It's the only one that's guaranteed to us. That's why it's called the present, because it's a gift, right? We have a vague idea of what's going to happen tomorrow, but we don't know. If you keep putting your dreams off, you may never actually make them happen. Don't die until you're dead. Your life is happening right now. So make the most of each moment in the most beautiful way you can.
Beautiful, and well done. Well done to your uncle for that one. And Amanda says, creativity is my word for the year. Beautiful word.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy says, my nana used to say, I'm not going to tell you to move, but you shift yourself.
Hey, it's all the same vibe, right?
Exactly, exactly. It certainly is. So I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Katie, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up at the moment, or any free gifts or offers to share?
Well, my website is super simple, as is my socials. I've tried to make it as easy as possible for people because I know we haven't got time to be looking for people right nowadays. So my website is literally katieoman.co.uk, and Oman is spelled like the country, Oman. That's my website, and you'll find all my offerings and services on there and the books. And then my social media is Katie Oman 1111. And that goes across all platforms. So if you look for me, you'll find me. Instagram is my biggest platform, but I'm on, all the usual suspects. So I'm sure you'll find me on there. Gotta love full ones, right? 1111. Absolutely.
Exactly. And I will put the links to Katie's social media in the comments after the show, so you can actually just click on them and go straight there
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
them.
And if anybody would like to have a chat with me about anything creative or any kind of ideas they have, I'm very happy to jump on a free discovery call, and I'll give you the link for that after the show. But yeah, I'm always happy to have a chat with people, because even if I'm not the person you want to work with, because sometimes it's alignment, and I understand that, I can still kind of give you advice and put you in the right direction. So if anybody's like creative and has ideas but doesn't really know where to start, you can always have a chat with me, because I will happily do my best to support you.
Yeah, beautiful. And Amanda says, thank you, Katie. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And yeah, so thank you, Katie, for sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. And of course, for anyone watching, I'd also, if you're ready for even more clarity and transformation, then I'd love to invite you to a free 20-minute live SoulPath Discovery one-to-one video call, where during our time together, I'll pull a couple of angel and oracle cards to help you gain clarity and uncover guidance from your higher self or the angels. This is your chance to reflect, connect, and gain insight into your path forward. And I'd be truly honoured to chat with you one-to-one, guide you and help you to take the next step toward living the life that you always meant to live. And of course, I do have a couple of incredible free gifts for you, designed to help you connect more deeply with your guides and explore your future. So do check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching. I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified when the show goes live. And also remember, every time you subscribe, like, share, comment on anything I put out there, Katie puts out there, or any of my guests put out there, you really help with all the algorithms and getting their messages out there so that more people can actually live a more joyful, happier life. And you're part of that web of, sending that information out there. Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. Blessings to both you and Rae and Katie and Andy. Thank you. You're welcome, Andy. Thank you both for joining in. And of course, luckily, just at the very end, the internet has gone on Katie's end. So I look forward to you all joining me, same time, same place next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.